You ready? Ready, Cody? All right.
Benil,
Present.
Gaunce, Kirkpatrick,
Yes, ma'am.
Lowry, Marion,
Yes, ma'am.
Neal, Norris,
Here.
Trigg, Witcher.
Motion. No, motion to approve the agenda.
Yes. To the council, I would like to put forward an amendment to our agenda for tonight's meeting regarding a resolution for the issuance of industrial building revenue bonds for Sharp Carts Real Estate Holding LLC for that project.
Okay, you have heard the motion. The motion is to amend the agenda to add this particular resolution. We'll get to it a little later on in the meeting. Is there a second to that motion? Okay. Further discussion? All right, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I will then move forward. First item on the agenda for tonight, which is to approve the minutes of our last meeting on August the 14th. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the 14th.
Motion, Benil.
Second. Second. All right. Discussion on the minutes. Okay. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved from the last council meeting. Let's move into our regular meeting for tonight. We're going to begin with a presentation. I've asked the Industrial Economic Authority's President and CEO, Maureen Carpenter, to be here to explain some of the things that are going on in industrial recruitment, economic development. It's been a while since Maureen has been here. There's been a whole lot of things going on, and I'm going to call her to the podium because these are some really important things that we want to hear about from you, Maureen.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, for having me here today. It has been a little while. I want to take you back to that first time I was here, and one of the biggest things that I talked about was clear expectations and setting the expectation that economic development takes time, and economic development is very expensive. So I think what you're going to hear tonight, we've come a long way in 3.5 years. We've done a lot of things that it's taken other communities a decade to do. So I'm excited to talk to you about some of those things. But two things that, I felt it was important to address. There's been some controversy, really for the first time since I've been here, regarding our organization. There was some media about the contribution to the Democratic Governors Association. The authority has acknowledged our mistake. We have explained the intent was not to support a political party, but our intent was really to go to Frankfurt to an event, go to another event, the Derby, and meet with the leadership of economic development and have the opportunity to meet with many other companies that have located here over the past 2 years, talk to them about potential supplier networks, and really establish Barron County as a player in economic development. And those are the things that we should be doing. Unfortunately, we made a mistake in how we went about that. That mistake has been rectified. We have received those funds back. They have been deposited into the authority's account and will be returned to the investor that provided those to us. So just want to make that clear. Our intent is never to support one political party or the other. We work with all parties. So hopefully we can put that behind us and move on.
Hey, Maureen, is everything passed? We in compliance with the state, and I guess compliance would be the right word. Our audits, our state bonding capacity, money coming out of Frankfurt. Are we good with all that stuff?
As far as I know, yes. I mean, we haven't had our 2022 audit. That will be because our fiscal year just ended. So once we have our audit, it will be noted in there that that payment was made and that it was put back, but it'll be noted in that. And then we've also put some policies in place to ensure, it's a very straightforward, simple policy that we will not make any donations of any kind to any political party, affiliate, or person. So we put that in place. The other big thing that came out in recent weeks is the sale of the Contemporary Apex Technologies facility. The company, after about 3 years of working with them on multiple projects, we've done so many different site visits, working on trying to get different joint ventures, trying to get something going in that facility. The company has decided they haven't completely written off that they will do something, but they did want to put it on the market and put out feelers for what could happen. They want to see something be successful here in Barron County, so we are working closely with them. We're working closely with their broker. We have already sent the marketing materials out to over 600 of our contacts. We have multiple site consultants that have contacted us and asked us for more information about that facility. So our main goal is to create jobs in that facility. That has been our main goal since the onset. And so they are working with us, and as soon as we can get something going there, we will. But it is on the market, and we are entertaining different companies. Different companies will be coming to our community to look at that facility. So,
Maureen, are you referring to the Donnelly's building? Is that the one you're referring to for those that do not know?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and so they told me to be quick. But because, without small businesses, without entrepreneurship, we cannot do industrial recruitment. So in 2022, we consolidated our chamber and economic development, and I just want to touch on a couple of successes that we've had there, because that's really going to help us when we're talking with industries and working on that. So last year, we retained over 93% of our chamber members. So we lost several due to business closures, people retired, but really 93%, that is far above the national average of 85%. We exceeded our non-dues revenue. We grew that by 221% at the chamber. You have to have a strong, vital chamber to be able to advocate for your businesses, and we've been able to increase that. The chamber, as you know, COVID was devastating to the chamber, but now we are strong. We have funding in the bank for that rainy day, so it's grown significantly. Since January 2022, we have recruited 198 new chamber members. So we're over 500 members representing over 12,000 employees. So that gives us a very strong voice when it comes to at the state level, hopefully at the local level, but we're every day working to represent those small businesses. And we're excited that we're going to hit, our goal was 100 by the end of the year. We're going to hit that before the end of maybe by the end of the month. We'll see. We might get 2 more this week. We're hoping. We added a significant number of programs and events to help our businesses, whether it's networking, low-cost marketing, especially with the economy the way it is, any opportunity that we can give to our businesses to get their name out there and get that exposure, we want to do that. And we're getting ready to celebrate Industry Month. September and October will be Industry Month events. We've done new communications. We have a new chamber newsletter that goes out. We do a weekly email promotion that talks about the events, but also gives our members an opportunity to spotlight what they have going on. And our Facebook has grown. We're just over 5,000 followers. We started at less than 1,000, so that is growing significantly. But I think one of the most important things that the Chamber and Economic Development are working on right now is workforce and talent. We can build all the buildings, we can develop all the parks, but if we don't have the talent we need to fill the jobs, they will not come. Over the last year and a half, over 7,000 new jobs were announced in our region with 2 companies. So when we have someone looking at us or talking to us, they're looking at that labor market data. They're looking to see how is Glasgow, how is Barron County going to provide me with 1,000 people or even 100 people. So that's one of the stories we have to be able to tell, and we're working very hard on making sure that we have a story for them. Last year we received a $100,000 grant to do our Barron County Resources for Relaunch. We will be launching that program. We've gotten everything created. We'll be launching that, and that's targeted to people that have been out of work for 2 or more years. Giving them some additional training, giving them that personal support to help them realize that they can get back in the workforce, help get them comfortable. It's very uncomfortable to go to an interview or to talk to people when you've been staying home with your children for 5 years. So this program is hopefully going to jumpstart that. In the next couple of weeks, you should be hearing about another grant and program that we're going to be doing related to childcare. There is definitely a lack of childcare in the community, especially on 2nd and 3rd shifts. So this program is going to help support that. And then we're also making efforts to work on public-private partnerships to help with transportation. So all of these things are going to put more, we have over 3,000 people that aren't working in Barron County. 3,000 people that can work that aren't working. So we're recognizing what are their barriers, how can we help them, and how do we get our positions filled and have that available capacity for our projects. Also, we talked about the Chamber of the Year finalist, and I think people thought it was like this little award. This was a national recognition. We've been on podcasts. We've talked to chambers all over the country that want to know, how did you do that? You know, we had to meet certain benchmarks before we could even qualify for the application. Then we had to fill out an application, which is in a binder this big. Then we had to go through an interview process. So being one of the top 3 chambers in the nation in a year and a half, that speaks volume to this community, the support of the chamber, our board, and our volunteers. So now on to kind of the industry stuff. So expansion projects since 2020, we have worked with our industries to create 605 new jobs, and our companies have done over $135 million in capital investment. That's machinery, equipment, enhancements to their facilities. We've also, we help them by giving them information. So we just completed our wage and benefit survey for this year. This information helps them when they're looking at their budgets for next year, so that will be going out to them, but we've done that every year. We do not just production workers, but we also do a separate supervisory wage benefit survey. We've had discussions on supply chain, grant opportunities, incentives. A lot of times they'll call us and say, hey, we're looking for this information or we're looking for this contact, and we're able to do that. And that's the most exciting thing is, you can call them, you can try to meet with them, but when they call you for assistance, you know you've made that connection and they know that they have a resource that they can call for those things. Industry recruitment. So we have a leads list of 459 companies that we're talking with. That list will grow by about 20 in the next week. I'll be meeting with about 20 companies, plus hopefully run into some others. We've established relationships with 154 consultants that we send information to on a regular basis. Every time we do a press release about a building, a grant opportunity, we send that information to them. We've responded to 90 requests for proposals. So if a project is looking for a location, they'll kind of narrow it down to a region, and when I say region, probably 4 or 5 states. And so we've responded to 90 requests. It's about an average of 3 a month is what we're responding to. We've announced 256 new jobs and $32,248,000 in capital investment. Now, I want to pause here because this is going to be related to that resolution that is in front of you. I appreciate you putting that on the agenda for today. We have been working on this project since January. It went to GEPB in March. So GEPB is the state approval entity for like the Kentucky Business Investment Incentive. So they already went through that approval process and they're getting ready to close on the facility. So that's what this is regarding. They are going to be doing industrial bond financing that comes with a pilot, a payment in lieu of tax. So they're planning to close on Friday, so we had to get this done in order for them to be able to do that. They are projecting to create 97 new jobs, $13 million in capital investment. That includes the purchase of the property and then improvements and equipment. Average wage is about $17 an hour. And the pilot that was provided or will be provided if you approve that is for 10 years. The value of that is about $255,000 over the 10 years. Any questions about that one?
I want you to say the name of it.
Well, it's in your resolution. But yeah, the project is, it's Sharp Carts. They are out of Daytona, Florida, and the owners are out of Canada.
Mm-hmm. This is Sharp Carts.
Sharp Carts. Yes, so this is going in the final space out in Highland Glen, the 100,000 square foot building that the authority built. We sold it to K&M Services, and they finished it out. They put in the floor. They put in the HVAC, parking, built some offices, restrooms, and so they're the ones that are selling it to the company.
I have a question for you. You said that there's 605 jobs that's been created and 256 new jobs. All I keep hearing is that we're not having enough jobs here with the 3,000 people that you spoke of earlier that's, out of work. So I didn't know where these jobs, what we're alluding to on these, and or what's your vision maybe down the pipeline for something coming out to help Glasgow grow and help these 3,000 people not working?
Well, one, you got to get those 3,000 people to go to work. Those are the people that can work that are not working. So that's where we're identifying what are their barriers. Why are they not going to work? Is it because they're independently wealthy? Is it because maybe they have they've been incarcerated and they need help with an expungement? Is it transportation? Is it daycare? But why are they not working? Another thing with, everybody says we want jobs, we want jobs, we want industry jobs. Well, we have to make sure that we educate our young people about the quality of manufacturing jobs. Everyone wants a job, or they'll say we need jobs. There are 900 jobs available in Barron County right now. It just may not be the job they want. So that's where we're working. We're doing an 8th grade career expo. It's a hands-on expo with all of our sectors for them to come and see, what does it really mean to be in agriculture? What does it mean to be in healthcare services? What is it in professional services and manufacturing? We're doing school tours. We're doing co-op opportunities. We're bringing the kids from the schools into the industry because we have to make sure they know there's opportunity here. because those other manufacturing facilities outside our immediate area see them as potential future workforce. So that's really where we're focusing, is educating them and then creating programs and identifying the issues of why are those people not working.
Hey, another question on your, you said, if I got it right, the RFPs, there were 90 going out to the region. Have you identified like a traits of why we're not getting factories? I mean, is something showing up in those that we're applying for that, because I would assume that they would reply back like, hey, you don't have enough workers, or we don't have high-speed internet, or whatever it might be.
Yeah. A lot of times we actually don't get feedback. We ask for it. If we're working with the Cabinet for Economic Development, sometimes they don't. They may not have requested it, or they didn't get it. Some of the things that we're seeing, a lot of those projects were, we used to think 10 megawatts was a huge electric user. Now they want 120 to 164 megawatts. Well, it takes 3 to 4 years to do that and $64 million. And so when you look at capacity of a community, we're also, when we look at those projects, we say, what is a good fit for Barron County? What is not going to deplete us of all of our resources? They're million gallons of water a day or more. So some of those projects we've lost because we don't have the infrastructure in place. Some of them, it is workforce. They look at it. There were 2 I know that went elsewhere in Kentucky, and it was merely the fact they wanted an industrial park that was already developed. It had nothing to do with us, the consultants. Like I told them, the workforce story is better in Barron County, traffic's better in Barron County, but they wanted to be in that developed area. So
Speaking to that, do you foresee building another spec building? Because when I was there, that was one of the big draws, that you had to have a spec building too.
yes. We are actually in the process. We have bid that out and ordered the buildings. So South Cooper, right off of 68 and 80, we had 2 graded pads. So we are under contract to do a 50,000 square foot building on lot 1, and then a 100,000 square foot building on lot 7. Both of those are expandable, but we felt with our resources, we would build out the smaller scope, and then they can expand those facilities. So those should be done first quarter.
Spec building these days, what's it cost to put one up, 50,000, 100,000?
Well, those 2 buildings are about $8.5 million
Each or together?
together.
Okay.
It's about 5 and 3.
Okay.
So it went up, just the cost of the building went up 27% from when we built the one in Highland Glen.
Maureen, could you talk a little bit about, tonight we're going to look at this resolution with Sharp Cards, and I know you started talking with them back in January this year, but the process has been much longer than that because we had to have a building and we built a spec building, so it's been about a 2-year project on this?
Well, they came to us because we had the building. Initially, they were on a fast track, and that track slowed down a little bit. But initially, when you're working on economic development, you want to reduce time, money, and risk. And you do that by having pad-ready sites, build-ready sites, by having buildings that they can just come in and set up and start working. So, we're targeting those. Really the best fit for us, about 350 jobs. And so with having a 100,000 square foot facility expandable to 240,000, they can easily start at 350 and work their way up.
So, that's the value of having a spec building ready to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time, money, and risk.
I've always been told if you build it, they will come. But I've also been told by the citizens, we have a lot of empty buildings here too. So, is it a great idea to build spec buildings to see if they'll come, or,
I would love to know where those, so I would say, first of all, what buildings are they looking at that are vacant, and are they suitable for industrial development? Because for industrial development and even warehousing, we don't have buildings.
Max, I would say, my experience, you had to have a spec building, to attract industrial need. I get some questions like, did the spec building when it sold, did it go out to
Yes. We have to post those just like any public entity. We post it in the newspaper, and we do a meeting, a pre-bid meeting for people to come and ask questions and learn about those, yeah.
But to answer your question about that, you really need, because they're going to scale that building out, 50,000 square feet. Where do you put it at other than, I mean, the paper, I don't know how many subscribers it has, but I mean,
Well, there's really not very many places to put it. So,
I mean, that's the wrong.
yeah.
Right, taking that way, but I just, you know, I don't know the best way to implement those things.
Are you talking about for like biddings for?
Yeah.
But one of the other things on available buildings, a lot of those are older buildings, low ceiling height. That's one of the things, even with the KTEL facility, you know, it's 25 to 28 foot ceiling height. We don't go lower than 32 because they're looking for those higher ceilings because of storage, equipment, machinery.
My question was going to be about the former Donnelly's building. Had they done any modifications in that building or upgrades to that building after purchasing that?
No. So they've started, I mean, obviously they decommissioned the facility. The equipment was gone. They did some patching. There are some repairs that they're in the process of getting done that needed to be done after neglecting that for about 3 years, so.
Also, while we're still talking about the Donnelly's building, do we recall what that building sold for?
I think it sold for $8.5 million.
And is it my understanding they're trying to sell it for $35 million?
They have it listed for $35 million.
That's a private, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Now, what I was struggling with more is what about Orange or the state? My understanding is they were going to pay anything, state incentives. So, but they didn't really produce a job, so should they have to give some of those incentives?
So just for clarification, CATL has not received 1 penny of incentive dollars. They have not received the grant funds. They have not received their energy discount. They have not received anything at the local level. They paid cash for that. So, yeah, no, and that's an important point because people do think, well, you come in here, you say you're going to do this. Incentives were committed, but one of the things that I think is great the way Kentucky does their incentives is they're performance-based. So if you don't perform, you don't get the incentive, and they prorate based on your performance as well.
Good discussion. I'm going to throw one thing out just because, and I don't want to get in trouble for doing this, but on the sharp carts resolution that we're fixing to pass here, hopefully, we beat out some other communities. In other words, there were other communities in contention to get this industry bringing 97 jobs. We won.
Yes.
And I can't tell you where they were, but I do know that there were others they were looking at. So there were some days of keeping our fingers crossed, and we won.
Yeah, they were looking at several other states, including ours.
Yeah.
So I think the last thing I had on property development, including the county bond funds, we've secured over $9 million for property development in grants. Well, the bond is not a grant. The county did do a $5 million bond, but all of the other funds we've received are grant funding, and we are in the process of trying to secure additional grant funding to purchase a large parcel in partnership with a private investor, because it's a little out of our league, but working on that public-private partnership can really be beneficial to be able to get some property underfoot that is large that we can work with. So.
All right. Any other questions for Maureen before we move to the bond itself to facilitate this?
What's the time frame for sharp carts in terms of putting people in those 97 positions?
So, I mean, obviously, when they come in, they've got to get their equipment, their fixtures, get the building set up. So I would say they'll probably start hiring their essential staff, their HR, their management team within the next 3 months. Within less than a year, they should be fully operational. But also, one of the other things that we do with any of the agreements that we have, we also prorate that. So if they don't create the 97 jobs when we do the pilot, their pilot is adjusted based on their job performance.
How's that layer being? Because usually they would like 25, this quarter, 25. Is it all 97 at one?
Well, it's 97, and then I think we went 10, down by 10 each. And then I think at 50%, they don't get anything. No, it's an annual. They provide an annual report of where they are. Otherwise, it would be crazy to track that. Yes. Yes. Well, they'll ramp up too. They'll start out with their administrative people, their maintenance, their HR, their finance people, and then, they'll ramp up over a year to 2 years. They have 2 years to fully create the 97. But based on their projection, it's less than that.
And just to clarify, for those in attendance today or watching online, taxes will not be increased for the citizens here on this bond. That is correct, right?
That's correct. And you have no liability. And it doesn't impact your bonding capacity at all.
All right. Well, I think I want to thank you, first of all, for giving us this report. And I'll explain in the interest of transparency, we didn't know that we were at this point until Friday, which was after the agenda went out, which is why we had to amend the agenda. But it's worth doing it because we got to explain some things, and Maureen got to give the good news, the explanation of what it's going to be by approving this bond. And also, in industrial recruiting, there's so much confidentiality that has to be maintained. You really haven't been able to say much about CATL because being a private industry, you don't know anything about it. You're not tied to them at all. But when they listed it, we were finally able to talk about it and what you knew about it. So I think this is...
I'm not at liberty to speak on behalf of the company.
No.
The decisions that they make, just what they tell me.
Right.
Yeah.
But you get so many questions that you can't answer.
Yes.
But I'm glad now that we're moving forward. So I think that's a segue to the bond. Rich, if you want to talk about that.
Mayor, I thought what I would do before I read the resolution summary, and council members touched on it just briefly a moment ago, but when I found out we were going to consider the resolution for the bond issuance, I reached out to the bond council just to get some questions answered because I knew that they might be of importance to the council. So you have in front of you a letter from the bond council, but I'll kind of summarize those. First question was, does the city have any liability or obligation to make any of the payments on the bond? In other words, if Sharp Carts does not make their payment, is the city obligated? No, there's no liability on the city's part. Will the approval of the bond resolution increase the taxes? Councilmember Marion mentioned that a moment ago. The answer to that question is no. Will the city's debt ceiling be adversely affected? In other words, if we issue these bonds, is it going to impact our ability to borrow money or to issue further bonds? No is the answer to that. Will the city have any administrative responsibility regarding the bonds? And the answer is no. The city is what's called a conduit issuer of these bonds, and we will have no administrative responsibilities. Is the city going to incur any cost or expense related to the issuance of the bonds? No. Is the city being asked to issue, or why is it being asked to issue these bonds? Again, because of us being a municipality, we have certain bonding capacities for economic development, and so they are using us again as a conduit for that economic development. Will the bonds be subject to any rating agency? No. This is a privately negotiated bond issuance. Will the city's current bond rating or ability to issue its own bonds in the future be adversely affected? No. So this is, again, as Maureen mentioned, a purely economic development mechanism and no liability on the city's part. So I thought it was good to bring those things up. So I'm going to read to you a summary of a resolution on this bond issuance. This resolution makes certain determinations and findings necessary to comply with the Kentucky Revised Statutes as it relates to the issuance of taxable industrial revenue bonds. Namely, the findings are that this project constitutes an industrial building as defined by the Act and is consistent with the Kentucky Revised Statutes. The industrial building consists of real property as improved and all personal property, including equipment, to be used in an activity, business, or industry that is described and incorporated by the Act. The industrial building and equipment are to be acquired and financed with the proceeds of the bonds pursuant to the Act. The acquisition, development, and construction of the industrial building and the funding of the project creates long-term economic growth, will encourage the expansion of industry and commerce within the city in accordance with the public policy of the Commonwealth for economic development. By creating new jobs, it relieves conditions of unemployment and promotes economic development within both the city and the state. And the project is designed for economic revitalization of the city. Pursuant to this resolution and subject to final approval of a state incentive package, this resolution will also authorize the issuance of the city's taxable industrial revenue bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $15 million. The paperwork, though, they've asked for not to exceed $15 million, but they anticipate that the project will only be $6 million. Again, subject to the final approval of the state incentive package, this resolution authorizes and directs Mayor Royce to execute certain documents: a lease agreement, a pilot, which is payment in lieu of tax agreement, and a mortgage. So the way this works is when Sharp Cards purchases this lot in the spec building, they will then quit claim that property to the city while the bond issuance is being repaid. The city will then lease that property to Sharp Cards. They'll make lease payments which will retire the debt. When the debt is retired, then the city then deeds the property back to Sharp Cards. So that's kind of the timeline for how that works. And the lease also provides that if Sharp Cards wanted to exercise their option to purchase it quicker than the lease agreement, they can do that. The resolution also provides that all bond documents are to be prepared by bond counsel, as we've talked about, subject to the approval of the mayor, the city attorney, and Sharp Cards Holding Company, LLC, and the bondholder. And it authorizes the mayor and the city clerk to execute all other documents necessary to carry out the bond issuance. And that covers it.
So you have heard the summary of the bond action that we need to take. Rich's explanation, sort of summarizing it, and we've had a lot of discussion about it. So I think that probably at this time, I'm ready to entertain a motion that we pass this resolution to move forward with this project.
Motion by Benel.
Okay.
Second, Lowry.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for the resolution for the bond for Sharp Cards. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Congratulations to everybody that's been working hard on this, and this is really an exciting thing. I know how hard Maureen and a lot of other people have been working to make this happen, so I'm really glad to see that it is. Good news. All right, we need to move forward here we have one more municipal order to take care of in your packet for tonight, and that is about the Ethics Committee.
On order of the Mayor, Rossi Kingery is hereby reappointed to the Code of Ethics Committee. This appointment is for a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2026, subject to the approval of the council today's date.
Okay, I entertain a motion to approve that appointment. by Councilman Neal. Is there a second?
Second, Lowry.
Okay, all right, any discussion? All right, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay, that municipal order stands. We have several announcements here that I would like to pass along to you. They're all in your packet, but really, let's talk about the Quasqui Bicentennial for a moment, because that's going to be coming up, and the downtown area is going to get busier and busier and busier, and we have had a lot of, I know downstairs at City Hall, we've had a lot of inquiries about people looking how to secure booth space and things of that nature. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that look it over. There's something on there for everybody. From the city standpoint, we're going to be doing our this should be a lot of fun, our pancake breakfast. We have a lot of people, we have an entire staff of people who know about pancake fries, and a lot of council members who know about pancake fries, and you're going to see this knowledge completely rolled into a big fun Saturday morning, 7 a.m. until 10 a.m. on the 9th day of September. So look forward to that. That is kind of the city's part of a full day for that, and it's going to be downtown right here in front of City Hall, so we look forward to that. We're also going to have Saturday, September the 2nd, is going to be our next recycling. That's been going since we have the new recycling location. What would this be, y'all, the 3rd or the 4th?
This will be the first Saturday.
Oh, the first Saturday, but since we've built the new building and everything?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Be the 3rd time as you come down to the new recycling. They've got it all laid out down there. It's really easy to see, and the people at the landfill tell me that there's really good participation. So be thinking about your ability to recycle, and you can do that at the Glasgow landfill. Let's see, what else I want to talk about right here. We've got a holiday coming up with Labor Day, September the 4th. We're going to have our usual closings for that. And looks to me like, other than that, we've covered the bases on everything here, unless you all have seen something else. Terry?
Mayor Royce, are we putting our guests in here to win a prize on the number of people for the pancake breakfast?
This is, of course, we've been having a great number of staff meetings about how this particular, I was just trying to tell y'all, we don't know much about a pancake fry, so the powers that be have a prediction from every council member of how many people that you all think is going to be there that we should prepare for.
People, not pancakes, right?
People. How many people are going to come? So I think that I have one, Councilman Norris, who is an experienced pancake man. He has predicted 100. And another experienced pancake man down there,
250.
Councilman Vanessa, 250.
Easy.
Well, okay. So, Councilman Neal, what are you? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out how many to prepare for, and we need more than just us trying to figure it out.
You want this turned into?
Yes, turned into me, and then I'll turn. Even we have the city attorney turning one in too. Okay, make it.
Are you going to be flipping the pancakes for everybody?
Everybody's going to be flipping. Yes, we've got our new Department of Public Works chief back there, Jim McGowan, is an experienced sausage flipper. If you want to see that happen on Saturday morning, sausage flipping. So anyway, put it. Here's Patrick going to vote. Anyway, it's just a fun way to do it, and I look forward to it. And y'all come down and be a part of it. There's been a whole lot of work done on this Quasqui Bicentennial celebration, and we're going to be doing our part. Yes, sir. That's right. Don't forget that. 11 o'clock, the big ribbon cutting for the police training center, service center, the city garage out there right across from the city police station, and it would be a good time to come out there and learn about some of the wonderful facilities we have out there that are used for the police department. Thank you, Patrick. Okay, anything else? I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn, if not otherwise.
Motion.
Okay, and a second? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much for your time. Look at here. Somebody thinks this is The Price is Right.
I know, that's what I said.